Welcome to the Stephen F. Udzar-Hazy Center in Chantilly, Virginia, located just south of Dulles International Airport. The museum is open every day except for Christmas and is free to the public, though it costs $15 to park your car. If unable to visit, or you want a sneak peek before your trip, keep watching. The two massive hangars home hundreds of air and spacecraft, including a Lockheed SR-71 Blackbird, the Boeing B-29 Superfortress Enola Gay, and the Space Shuttle Discovery, all of which you'll see in this video. The museum is divided into 18 exhibit areas documenting aircraft pre-1920 to modern military aviation, vertical flight, and human spaceflight. After entering the museum and turning left, admire how the idea of flight evolved into a practical vehicle for transportation. From the first flight inaugurated by the Wright brothers in 1903 until the First World War, airplanes underwent a dramatic transformation that primed them to become one of the defining technologies of the 20th century. Walking across the bridge brings you to the expansive collection on site. The left side of the hangar houses primarily commercial aviation, including a Boeing 707, Concorde, and a Dassault Falcon used by FedEx. On the right side you'll find military aircraft like the Blackbird, Superfortress, Lightning, and Shooting Star. Behold Enola Gay, a true piece of aviation, scientific, and world history. This aircraft housed and dropped the first atomic weapon used in combat on August 6, 1945. Being this close to such a transformative piece of equipment is quite breathtaking. As you proceed down the walkway, German aviation of World War II is on your right, and straight ahead is where some of the restoration actually takes place. The outlook here lets you peer into the Mary Baker Engine restoration hangar, where various activities around restoration take place. As you exit the restoration hangar, the tantalizing view of the Space Shuttle Discovery welcomes you to the James S. McDonnell Space Hangar.
3, 2, 1, 0, and liftoff! Liftoff. Americans return to space as Discovery clears the tower.
Introduced in 1984, the Discovery flew on 39 Earth orbital missions, traveled nearly 240 million kilometers throughout the 365 days it spent in space, and retired in 2011 on the 133rd Space Shuttle mission. That ring you see in front of the Discovery is the instrument unit from the Saturn V rocket, which sent astronauts to the moon. As you make your way towards the stairs, don't forget to look up. Directly above the Discovery is a model of the Tracking and Data Relay Satellite, which, along with two additional sister satellites, provided continuous contact with spacecraft in low Earth orbit beginning in 1983. Once on the stairs, take another look up at many Explorer and Vanguard satellites, plus some Pioneer spacecraft.
Contact with a test. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Missions that the Discovery Shuttle was used for include satellite delivery, scientific research, Hubble Space Telescope deployment and servicing, ISS assembly, crew exchange and resupply missions, and DoD national security missions. The exterior of the Discovery kind of looks like an organized mosaic. Known as the Thermal Protection System, 7 different materials designed to protect against heat were placed in unique locations across the shuttle. Those black tiles along the underside of the shuttle provided heat protection up to 1,260 degrees Celsius. Notice the yellow markings that denote the tile's exact location on the orbiter. That backwards L-shaped device is called a manipulator foot restraint. Astronauts would anchor their boots to the footplate, allowing them to use their hands for equipment and tools. The foot restraints would be anchored to that white pole, known as the Canadarm, which was a jointed robotic arm used to position astronauts working outside. Exiting the space hangar brings you back to the main hangar area, where on the right is a one-of-a-kind rocket-powered Messerschmitt Me-163B Comet. This plane propelled man for the first time at a speed of more than 1,000 kilometers per hour. Speaking of speed, you are now looking at the aft section of the Lockheed SR-71 Blackbird. Developed in the 1960s under a classified project, this aircraft performed aerial reconnaissance missions at a speed of Mach 3.2 at flight level 850. As of today, the year 2022, the Blackbird still holds the world record as the fastest air-breathing manned aircraft. Here is a Sikorsky HO-5S-1, which was used as the United States Marines' primary medevac helicopter in the last year of the Korean War. America's first operational swept-wing fighter, the North American F-86A Sabre, was used to counter the Soviet MiG-15 in high-speed dogfights during the Korean War. Next is the Lockheed T-33 Shooting Star. The first flight for this aircraft occurred in 1948, and the last military operator, the Bolivian Air Force, retired the type in July of 2017. While the wings may look like a prototype for the Boeing 777X, the folding wingtips for the Crusader allowed the aircraft to operate out of aircraft carriers. Last in the Korean and Vietnam era section is an F-18E Super Hornet used by the Strike Fighter Squadron 31, known as the Tomcatters, the second oldest Navy fighter attack squadron operating today. Next are some artifacts of German aviation around the time of World War II. Manufactured by Dornier, the Do-335 Pfeil, meaning arrow in English, was Germany's fastest piston-engine aircraft of World War II, though only 37 were built. The Arado AR-234 Blitz was the world's first operational jet-powered bomber. This type was the last Luftwaffe aircraft to fly over the UK during the war. Next is a Junkers Ju-52-3M, one of the most successful European airliners ever made. This tri-motor version of the single-engine Ju-52 could carry up to 17 passengers or 3 tons of freight. The Boeing 307 Stratoliner entered service in 1940 as the first commercial airliner with a pressurized cabin. Cruising at 220 miles per hour at a height of 20,000 feet, 33 to 38 passengers with 5 to 6 crew members aboard each flight comfortably traveled on this plane until it was retired in 1975. Continuing west, you'll reach the vertical flight section of this museum, which may or may not be posted in a subsequent video. Reaching the west end of the hangar and returning backwards towards the center brings you into the commercial and business aviation exhibits. Seen here is a Lockheed L-49 Constellation. While donned in West Virginia Air National Guard livery, commercial use of this plane began in 1946. A total of 88 L-49 Constellations were built and operated until the late 1970s. You'll find various single and double engine prop planes scattered above and below the Constellation, so be sure to visit and see more for yourself. Trying to steal the Concorde's spotlight is the first plane to carry a FedEx package. Manufactured by Dassault, the Falcon 20 entered service for FedEx on April 17, 1973. Check out a 1970s promo video for this aircraft linked in the description. The jet age for U.S. civilians began here with the Boeing 367-80, which became the prototype for the 707. Powered by 4 Pratt & Whitney engines, the Dash 80 was also developed into the C-135 Stratolifter and the KC-135 Stratotanker. One very cool exhibit that should not be forgotten to visit is the Donald D. Engen Tower. Situated on the bottom level, an attendant will shuttle you up the elevator to get a bird's eye view of the airfield. Hopefully you visit on a day when aircraft are arriving from the south. Held once annually, the Innovations in Flight event offers visitors with a pre-reserved ticket the opportunity to exit the hangar out onto the field and get up close and personal with aircraft that were flown in for the event. Visitors can explore the engineering and design innovations that have taken place during the last century of flight, talk with pilots of vintage and modern aircraft, and explore the interior of various commercial and military aircraft. Enjoy some of the diverse aircraft on exhibit and consider checking out subsequent Innovations in Flight events in the future. Perhaps the most popular outdoor exhibit this year was the United Airlines Boeing 757-200, painted in a special livery titled Her Art Here by Corin Antonelli. With much of the compartments open for up-close viewing, enjoy the detailed mechanical view behind the engines that propelled these birds through the sky. I knew it would be very close, but I wanted to see if I could walk the length of the fuselage without having to duck. Surprisingly, the ground clearance was high enough for me to walk standing tall at 6'5". The line to enter the United Boeing 757 was quite long, so I decided to skip a walkthrough. The next outdoor exhibit offers you the chance to view military aircraft. First up is a C-26A. This aircraft is used by the U.S. Naval Test Pilot School. Another very popular sight is an F-22 Raptor. At a cost of $125 million for each, it's not a surprise to see 2 armed soldiers guarding the plane. Although they were armed, the soldiers were friendly and willing to answer questions. A bit older than the Raptor, the C-47 Skytrain was first delivered in 1944. If this plane looks at all familiar, that's because it was modeled after the civilian DC-3. Last, but not least, is the German Luftwaffe-operated Airbus A400M Atlas. This aircraft is relatively new. The maiden flight took place in late 2009 and certification by the European Aviation Safety Agency occurred in 2013. Since its introduction, Germany, France, Spain, the UK, Turkey, Belgium, and Luxembourg have all received deliveries of this aircraft. I hope you enjoyed some of the footage and commentary in this video. If you did enjoy, learn something new, and are still watching, consider liking the video, and have a great day.